Frost Nixon. What
Oh,
does Ron say to you? What's advice? What does he do to help you? Because I know it's a small role, but what does Ron say to you?
oh my goodness. Ron Howard was probably one of the most amazing directors because of his legacy in Hollywood and his humble, quiet, sweet heart. So I played Tricia Nixon, and I was in 6 scenes in the movie and reenacting the resignation of President Nixon in Frost Nixon. And in the final film, they all got cut down to little glimpses. So if you blink, you might miss me. But when we were shooting, Ron was a very collaborative individual. He would come in and he would discuss amongst everybody the vision of what was going to be filmed that day. And he really allowed us the freedom to explore. I'll never forget the first day of shooting. We were dealing with a near-death experience of President Nixon. So we were in this small hospital room. And the emotions of that scene where, my daddy almost died. And the same moment is when he's being pardoned by Harold Ford. So you have 2 big emotional things. And so the emotion was, full for the entire family. And that scene was shot as an MOS, which means without sound. So I could hear Ron guide the camera, which was our DP with Sal Tortino. And he would just hold the camera and he would be like, okay, push into President Nixon. Okay, now go up to Patty, which was Pat Nixon. And then as the emotion filled in my soul for my daddy, and I reached for his hand to, there's a little moment that I have with these ice chips where he's nodding off, and I grab his hand. And as I grab his hand, the emotion comes over me. I was like, Daddy, you're going to make it. And the emotion just fueled in my eyes. And then Ron's like, okay, push down to Tricia. Okay, hold there. Okay, push in. And you could hear him talking the camera through, moving the camera to paint cinematically based on the emotional moments that were happening. And then I can feel myself wanting to look up to my mom for condolence and for, comfort. And I look up, and as I look up, then I heard Ron, okay, push up to Patty. And so it was so neat to be able to experience a moment of how mainstream Hollywood operates with some of our best directors like Ron Howard with such grace and gentleness and sensitivity. And that's how he operated with all the scenes that we filmed. He really wanted to make sure it was very accurate. We looked at archival footage before we even filmed the walking onto the presidential helicopter, and he had out in these small little videos looking at archival footage, and he made sure all of us was, focusing on all of that. And those were the specifics of details that Ron wanted to master. And so I just walked away with how humble, how collaborative, how giving, how warm and supportive he was. And then later on when we were at a screening, there's a big, Hollywood screening, he came in the side door. Nobody would even know he was there. And he had this little hat on, and he just kind of blended in, and he didn't want to stand out. He wasn't a person to say, hey, look at me. He was a person that was just so like you and me, just average day Joes, just trying to be a good friend to everybody. I just have such adoration for him. And his daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, who is just a reflection of her dad's beauty and just character. She's also just a wonderful woman.